Welcome to Bloodbath TV. Today we're doing a retrospective review of Alone in the Dark. When the lights go out, the terror begins.
Written and directed by Jack Shoulder, starring Donald Pleasence, Jack Palance, Martin Landau, and Dwight Schultz. This movie's about a quartet of inmates that escape an insane asylum. And they're out for revenge because they think their new doctor killed their old doctor, which they love. And now they just want to kill him. But that's not the case. He went to Philly, and poor Mr. Potter needs to protect him and his family.
Are you afraid of the dark? Sometimes.
This is a recommendation from one of our top donators over on Patreon, The Morphew. This is a movie I had never seen before, but it did recently get a lot of buzz on my Instagram feed because everybody picked up the Scream Factory release, so this was perfect. This is a retrospective review, so we will be talking full spoilers to talk about how Donald Pleasence is stoned throughout this entire movie.
Do you mind if I smoke?
Oh, not if you need to.
I don't need to. I want to.
So what do we like?
I actually really like this story. I found myself more on the edge of my seat because right off the bat you get to know who these four inmates are. We get the preacher who is like an ex-reverend who is like burning down churches, so he's a wild card. Then you got Bleeder, who gets nosebleeds when he strangles people. Fatty was the one that really got me going because he molested children, and there was a scene where he looks at the photo of Dr. Potter's like child, and it's so early in the movie that you're like, no.
You better not touch Lila. She's the coolest part of this movie. Damn it, do not.
We're all worried, Lila. Sometimes you just have to make the best of it.
I'd rather take a Valium.
Just this one alone has my blood boiling and I'm invested. And then you have the leader of the group.
Colonel Frank Hawks.
He's the conspiracy theorist. He's the one who's like, all right, our new doctor killed our old doctor, so we gotta kill the new doctor.
Dr. Potter! Happy trails.
And it is interesting, like, just getting that quick glimpse of them all in the room. We're introduced, of course, by Donald Pleasence, who is also a psychiatric guy there.
The way he acted made it seem as though he could have been a patient.
Yeah, he was so strange, but he got that good herb.
It's a great herb.
He was just smoking his pipe, stoned as hell, trying to get into the minds of people.
If you've been smoking pot again, you know it's no good for you.
Like, when he approached that one girl, he's like, hey, if you feel your intestines falling out, just like throw your hands up in your face and your intestines will just stay in your body.
Yes, and then the intestines will stay inside.
What's notable is this is the first movie from New Line Cinema that they actually produced, which was created by Lin Shaye's brother, Robert Shaye. Up until now, it was just a distribution company. And that's just kind of neat because New Line obviously went on to be a massive entity when it comes to horror films. And it was funny seeing a young Lin Shaye in this film.
Do you have any idea when he'll be free?
Leo's always free
Then why can't I see him?
because he's invisible.
And speaking of people that became horror icons, we also had a small appearance of Steve Dash, who played Jason Voorhees in Friday 2. He shows up in his caddy, and he gets out looking like Clark Kent, and he just happened to stumble upon the asylum while there was this massive blackout because they really stressed that everything was run by electricity. So the whole time you're like, okay, so when's the power going out?
The auxiliary generator conked out and the bleeder and a couple of the others just waltzed right out of here.
Well, Steve arrived just in time. He was also a doctor there, and they stole his car and just went to town. Literally, they just went to town.
They had to stock up for their killing spree.
Which is kind of funny because, like, speaking of Steve Dash as Jason, we also had the Bleeder. He went and got a hockey mask, and that's what he was wearing.
The Bleeder was my favorite part of this entire movie because you do not see his face whatsoever. His hand's always in front of it. Well, you have no idea what he looks like. And when they reveal it at the end of the movie, it was the biggest OMG moment in a long time. Like right after he kills Fatty, you just get that shot of like blood dripping on Tony's face and you know instantly like he's the Bleeder.
Holy shit. We popped for that. It was so good. He acts like a hero for most of the time when they're holed up in the house, which that's a long part of the movie. They're kind of just trapped in this house with the psychos outside.
Well, first
First off, Jim, we really don't like to use the term psychopath.
And even Lila is like, yeah, my dad's such a whip. I'm gonna run to this guy because he's got strength and he will defend and he'll save us all. And so you're just like, this is the new hero.
Yeah, they met him in jail. So like at no moment did you suspect that he was going to be the bleeder or just regular guy who was probably caught up in that protest, just like Tony and the gang.
We can't not talk about Bunky.
Oh yeah.
Sexy babysitter who's getting it on with her boyfriend. In a pretty cool scene, they were getting hot and heavy.
Bunky was getting funky.
I have to deal with this all the time. After following a very long trail of removed clothes up the stairs, and after sucking a couple nipples real quick, Bunky's like, hey, go check the closet.
I think it came from that closet over there.
There's no bad guy, thankfully. On his way back, he gets swooped up, dragged under the bed. Bunky is on the bed, and these knives just keep coming up, and she eventually books it. She doesn't quite make it, but it does lead to the best death in the movie when Fatty is right outside the door, and he just picks her up by her neck. We looked it up, and there's no special effects here. There's no trickery. He's just like a strong dude. He just straight up just lifted her by her neck for that shot. I loved it.
There wasn't many kills, but the ones that we did get were very impactful, especially when Ray, our like security guard in the asylum, Fatty Ann picks him up, snaps his back, and then as they walk away, you see his body like bent in half, and it looked pretty cool.
It really reminded me of You're Next a little bit. I feel like You're Next borrowed something from like this family being inside the house with the crossbows from the guys outside shooting through the windows. It had the exact same feel. It's cool in that sense because you have no idea where all the bad guys could be. So you're just kind of looking around, scanning the screen. Is anyone gonna be spying on the family like that one creep when we first saw the asylum? That guy scared the shit out of me.
We haven't really talked about him, but huge fan of Martin Landau in this film. So he is Preacher, as we talked about.
Don't you call me preacher!
Now listen, I like him in all of his other movies because I know him from Pinocchio, the live action where he plays Geppetto, and then as like Sal, the wrestling trainer in Ready to Rumble.
Sal Mandini. Wanna wrestle?
To have him in here as this like psycho killer, I loved it.
I think all the killers did a really great job. I think that Mr. Potter, for what he is, he's a very wimpy guy, and I think he did that really good. Now, what didn't we like? I didn't really like the pacing. It had a good setup, and I did like that we had these escape guys that are out to kill for a reason that's all in their heads. I think that's a really cool concept because then you have the doctors involved. However, when we get to Dr. Potter's house, they just are hanging out for a long time, and while there is some tension because you know the guys are outside, they basically do nothing for half an hour almost. Just like going to the window because somebody else is outside. Oh, somebody else is outside, now we need to talk to him. And it just felt like it went on for too long.
What are you, some kind of asshole?
It just felt like it was taking forever. A 2-minute scene felt like a 10-minute scene. Now this is a dislike that is actually kind of a like. I dislike that the sick fucks only had one scene because damn it, I loved the choppity chop chop punk song.
Now this rolls into a dislike. I didn't like the very ending of this movie because we've got Hawks, which is like the main corporal like bad guy. He sees the TV, he finds out like, oh yeah, you didn't kill the doctor. I'm pissed, I'm gonna break this TV and then I'm gonna go to a punk show. He beats up the doorman as two hilarious twin nerds are behind him. They look like Mark Ribier.
Get the fuck out of bed, bitch, go.
But he like gets into this club and he's just like hanging out there. And a girl approaches him like, hey, I remember seeing you last week. She's obviously stoned because that's not true. He pulls a gun in the most awkward way to hold a gun ever. And that's how the movie ends. Why? If anything, you would think he would go to Philly to see his doctor because that's his whole purpose. Like he loved his doctor so much that he was going to kill the person he thought killed his doctor. He finds out his doctor's alive and he wants to go to a punk show? What the fuck?
He's a sick fuck.
These are my people. These are my people. Chop, chop.
How do you have an asylum? One of these places that, if anything, security should be running off of more than just electricity. How do you not have regular locks on your door?
This is a big plot hole because we also learned that only the 3rd floor is run on electricity.
We have this special security system on the 3rd floor only, all run by electricity.
Which means all of the other floors should still have the regular security measures intact. There has to be regular locks. And these fucking careless doctors don't give a shit. The new doctor is like, hey man, I'm not giving you matches.
Oh, Leo lets me have them.
Then you should go and ask Leo.
So he does, and Leo's like, yeah, here's some matches.
Leo, I need a match.
A match? Oh, sure.
He doesn't give a fuck. He's stoned off of his ass and just gives the patients matches. What do you think he's gonna do? He lights his fucking shirt on fire and waves it around.
The best thing is he doesn't just give him one match. He's like, oh here, have a whole pack.
Keep the pack.
I know 100% he's also flipping weed to these guys. He probably just thinks like, hey, this guy needs to just go smoke some. He can come back, I can do the hand in front of the face trick again, and he'll probably buy some shit off me.
No way, his trick is way more vicious.
I told him if he didn't stop all this nonsense, I would hoist him up and cut him in half.
Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings. This was an okay movie. It's a movie that I have seen the poster for a ton, but I hadn't ever seen it. I thought it was more of like a slasher than it actually was, but I did enjoy myself. Not a ton of kills considering there are 4 men killing people, but it was nice to see some familiar faces. Donald Pleasence is always great to see, and I really liked Lila, the little girl. I thought was the funniest part about this film.
Don't you think you better get dressed for school?
As soon as I finish.
Oh, when might that be?
As long as it takes. Don't speed read, you know.
She always had these one-liners all the time, so you feared for her safety.
Come on, cutie.
Call me cutie.
And there are certain moments from this movie that I will remember, but the last act when the family's like, hey, everybody, let's have some dinner in this blackout together. From that point on, I was kind of bored. Like, I didn't really care, and a lot of the kills of the bad guys were just not interesting. It's like, stab you in the back. Oh, stab you in the back. Well, you're a bigger guy, so I gotta hit you with a bat to stab you harder in the back. And that's all that happened. And then the final closing shots were just so stupid.
You were here Tuesday night.
But it's right down the middle for me, so I'm gonna give this 2.5 Chef Loomis's Catch of the Days out of 5.
I have some mixed feelings with this film because I did enjoy it and I liked the overall story, but at times I found it dragged and the pacing wasn't there. Our characters were cool, our actors did a fantastic job. It's a fun like cat and mouse idea when they're in the house, but at times I was just bored with it. Normally I would just give this a rating down the middle, but that twist with Bleeder is getting an extra point for me because I did not expect this. I was genuinely surprised at the idea that Bleeder was in the house the whole time. That was brilliant. So with that being said, I'm gonna give this film 3.5 looters wiping out of 5.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and you do want to check it out, like I said, brand new Scream Factory release, linked in the description. If this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel, stay up to date with everything here on Bloodbath TV.
When I was a little kid, I was scared to death to be alone in the dark.